right, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Hartford School Building Committee meeting. It is Tuesday, January 17th, 2023. It is 12:03. My name is Paul Drummy, Building Committee Chair, and I call this meeting to order at 12:03. Mr. Little, can we do roll call, please?
Sure. Mr. Paul Drummy,
Here.
Mr. Thomas Clark II,
Here.
Mr. Claudio Bazzano, Ms. Kim Oliver,
Present.
Mr. Al Gary,
Here.
Mr. Edison Silva,
Here.
Ms. Jahari Escribano, Mr. Clarence Corbin. Mr. Clarence Corbin, please.
Here.
All right, with 5 voting members and a chair, we do have a quorum. Thank you and good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tony. Thank you. All right, everyone. Item number 2 on the agenda is the acceptance of minutes from the December 19th, 2022 meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Can I get a second, please?
Second. Kim Oliver.
Thank you, Kim. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, thank you. All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. All right, everyone. Item number 3, public participation. Is there any questions that came in? Anybody online that has a question to ask the committee? Thank you, Stan. Appreciate you. Okay. Moving on to item number 4, administrative.
We have no administrative items for today's agenda.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate you.
Mr.
Right,
Drummy,
everyone.
if I may interject.
Please, Emily.
I believe that this is a time where a vote is needed to add the agenda item as sent out by yourself last night.
Okay, very good. Thank you. This is with regards to Colliers. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you, Jack. So, everyone, what didn't make the agenda last Friday, we voted on the subcommittee, voted on the CMs for the 3 schools, and I'm asking if there's a motion to bring forward the motion to accept the construction managers for.
Oh, I think it's to put it on the agenda, isn't it?
Yeah, we
Right.
have to add it to the vote to add it to the agenda.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes, please.
through you, I'd like to make the motion that we add to our agenda the recommendation for the construction manager of the 3 schools, Betances, Wish, and Kennelly.
Thank you, Councilman Clark. Is there a second?
Yes. Al, second.
Okay, thank you, Al. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. Apologies, everyone. So do we wait until Colliers
Yeah.
or do we? Okay, so
Yeah,
that'll come up in Colliers updates to the committee.
Yeah.
Emily, I appreciate you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So moving on, everyone. Item number 5, current projects under construction, Arcadis OG, CNR program management. Action 5 or agenda item 5A, action items.
Yes, we'll ask that we defer this item to a future meeting. This is the vote to accept Weaver as complete. I'm sorry, we're deferring the Board of Ed action. This action is to to clear the hurdle with the building committee on accepting Weaver is complete. The work in the TV studio has concluded. So we are at a point of achieving financial closeout, and we can now forward this to the next step for the Board of Ed to accept it as complete at a future meeting. So it is our recommendation that the building committee accept the project and advance it to audit.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, so moved.
thank you, Councilman Clark. Can I get a second? Is there a second?
Second, Kim Oliver.
Thank you, Ms. Oliver. Discussion? Of
Yes, discussion, if I may, Mr. Chair?
course, Mr. Gary, please.
Okay, thank you. Jack, please bring me up to date as to where are we with this, fire alarm system? I think we're supposed to, are we in line, are we in queue for some type of a review?
I'll defer to Mr. Drummy on that.
Please, thank you, Jack. Mr. Gary, so yes, we are still internally working through the process to make sure that the Weaver fire alarm system can be accepted. We are not at that point yet, and I hope to update the committee at the next meeting.
Does that affect where we are with accepting it and closing
It
it
does.
out? Okay.
Yes, sir. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. Okay,
Mr.
please.
Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I wish to abstain at this time.
Sure, one abstention. Okay, an abstention by Mr. Edison. And the remainder all being ayes, the motion still carries.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay,
For context, as I mentioned in presenting the item, we will defer putting this in front of the Board of Education until that final report is issued by the city.
yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Jack. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, everyone, 5A2, Building and Grounds. Jack?
A similar transaction here to put the building and grounds roof project on the table for acceptance as complete. We have achieved financial closeout, and this will be on, again, we'll probably group this with Weaver, as a transaction for the Board of Ed for their acceptance, after which time it'll go to the state for final audit. So we ask for a motion to accept.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Councilman Clark. Can I get a second?
Second, Kim Oliver.
Thank you, Ms. Oliver. Second by Ms. Oliver. Discussion? I have a discussion point here. Jack, is there a benefit to moving this forward on its own versus having the FA system hold it up?
Unfortunately, I'm in this.
From an efficiency standpoint, in order to get on the Board of Ed agenda, we have to go to the Choice and Facilities Commission first. So it's just more efficient to do two projects at the same time. There's no direct impact. If it's a month different than Weaver, there's no impact of waiting that month.
Okay, and the monetary value, because this is a separate non-priority grant, so the monetary value of closing this grant out, understanding that it's only a month in between, and I'm agreeable. I'm just curious if the money tied to closeout, Jack?
Is significant enough to expedite. I'll put that question to Emily. I know we had discussed it last week. It didn't Didn't seem as though it would have any material impact on the city, but I don't remember the exact number.
Paul, it won't have an impact on the city. This project is a 40% reimbursement project. And this is like you said, a non-priority project, and therefore it's done with a desk audit. So therefore, these are very simply done and could be done within a month or two. So the city would receive its funds much faster than a regular size project.
Okay, and also kind of coupling both of these with the Board of Education in one meeting and the efficiencies that come with that. So I'm satisfied. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. All right, item 5A3, Buckley High School renovation.
Yes, today we have change order number 11 to Newfield Construction for the Buckley High campus project. This includes two items: a reconciliation of allowances from phase 5 and the cost of repairing some existing site lighting to keep it operational during construction for the Board of Ed office occupancy. The net value here is a credit of $21,065. This has been reviewed and approved by the change order subcommittee, and we ask your endorsement.
Thank you, Jack. Is there a motion?
So move.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch who that was.
Edison.
Edison, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Al?
That's Al.
Mr.
Second.
Gary? Al Gary, is a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. All right, everyone, item number 5A4 on the agenda is Burns Latino Studies renovation. Two items here. Jack?
Next up is change order number 8 to PDS for the Burns renovation. This includes some additional work required by field conditions, as well as a redesign of the site due to the deteriorated condition of the existing planter. Originally, the project was going to utilize masonry restoration allowance funds to repair the planter, but it would need basically a full replacement. So the lesser cost to the project is to remove the planter and regrade. All of these items have been reviewed and approved by the change order subcommittee, and we ask your endorsement. The net value of the change is $41,947.44.
A motion to approve?
So move. Al.
Thank you, Al.
Second.
Second by Councilman Clark. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. Jack?
Thank you. Next, we have a request for authorization to solicit a structural special inspector. In addition to the testing lab, we'll need a structural engineer to review and sign off certain areas of the structural renovation of the building. At times, the engineer of record can serve in that capacity. We like to get third-party proposals for that as well to get a fresh set of eyes. The intent here is to solicit proposals for that service, bring it to the bid review committee, and thereafter award, and then report back to the full committee the outcome of that effort. So we ask your authorization to solicit proposals.
Thank you, Jack. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Councilman Clark. A second?
Second.
Al, thank you. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. All right, everyone. Oh, item number 5B on the agenda is project reports. Jack, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. As we click through the report this month, we have, we're still we continue to list the budget as TBD for Buckley Central Admin and the renovation effort. We're still in the bidding process, and it's anticipated that as soon as the bids are complete and we have the cost of the lease for the central office relocation, we'll be able to compute the revised numbers for both of these projects and get that moving forward. Projects are still on track for August 2025 completion. For Burns, we have the approved budget increase at 55.4 and a confirmed current expectation on move-in date of December 24 versus the original August date. Next slide. At present, we are compliant and exceeding the expectations for MWBE and Hartford resident labor at Buckley. We are exceeding the MWBE employment target at Burns and are making slow progress in coming up to our 30% for Hartford resident workers. One of the difficulties we have with Burns is that as an occupied renovation, we are only able to take over small areas of the building at a time. And in discussions with the CM and the trades, this is making it very difficult for some of the trade contractors to add Hartford resident workers to their workforce and keep them busy in Hartford. So we'll have a conversation as we look forward, understanding that occupied renovations is the lion's share of the work for future projects, and see how we might be able to better manage that expectation, giving people the opportunity to either, number one, take over larger areas of the building, which will be difficult, or otherwise work with things so that the employment of Hartford residents by these trade contractors can be more consistent, rather than 2 weeks on, come back in 4 months, another 2 weeks for some next bite of the apple. So that is a difficulty, and we are in active discussion with the CM and the trades on how we might be able to make that situation more effective for the trade contractors. Are there any questions so far? Okay, next slide. As we move over to Buckley, as noted, we are still in the bid process. We have bids due on tomorrow, Thursday, the 19th. I believe the final bid packages are due to be reported. Scope reviews are continuing with the trades that have already responded to bidding. And in the meantime, work on phase 6 is continuing. Work on phase 5, the demo and abatement and building cleanout efforts are essentially suspended until such point as we bring the demolition contractor back to remove the old facade of the building, which will happen later on in the phase 7 process. Otherwise, work is continuing on for phase 6. Bids are continuing their delivery process for phase 7, and scope reviews are ongoing. We understand that a decision on the location and the cost of the Board of Ed office lease is coming shortly. And at that time, we'll be able to aggregate those numbers of the actual bid overrun plus the cost of the swing space and move our request forward, first to the City Council and then ultimately to the state for reauthorization. Are there any questions on Buckley?
I have a question, Kim Oliver.
Please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the update on Buckley, and just really quickly regarding the swing space for central administration, just confirmation. I think you've already said it. So in terms of the financing of that space for central administration, that will not need to come to the Board of Education. Is that correct? Because it will be handled by this committee through, and then city council, state, but would not require dollars running at all through the board. Is that correct?
Correct. The funding for that lease and the move out and the move back would become expenses chargeable against the Buckley project.
Okay, great.
They
Thank
would
you.
not- They would not hit the operating budget.
Thank you very much.
Any other Buckley questions? All right, next slide, please. Moving over to Burns, as I mentioned, last meeting, we did find an opportunity to salvage some equipment from Wish that would allow our Area 1 to become re-energized and allow occupancy to move forward in February as planned. This will allow us to move to Area 2, the second floor of that wing, for continued renovations on schedule. Otherwise, we are pushing forward with construction in Area 1. We are getting through the site work effort there as well. That's what turned up the condition of that planter that we just chose by change order to eliminate. And moving forward, the phase 3A, the technology package, is still in the process of review with OSCGR. So our timeline, critical timeline on Burns is to complete Area 1 and return it back to the school in February, and then moving into Area 2 in March. In the spring, we anticipate some roofing work will commence over the gym and other areas. And then our critical path moving forward there is to have the balance of the electrical gear available to energize Area 2. If continued delays in the supply chain happen and we don't have the electrical gear in time for the completion of phase 2, it will cause an impact on the overall schedule of the project. But we're hopeful that the extended delay is the last extended delivery date that will be offered for that gear, and that we'll be able to maintain progress moving into the summer. Are there any Burns questions?
Well, Mr. Chairman, may I address Jack on some issues here, please?
You may, Mr.
Thank you,
Gary.
sir. Jack, and for the audience, I think it should be underscored how difficult this is. Bullet 4 under Area 1 in blue up there, and also the supporting photograph at bottom right, you are taking equipment out of Fred D. Wish to place in Burns to remain on schedule because we cannot get that electrical equipment brand new, correct?
That's correct.
And you're reporting that, excuse the beeping. You're reporting that the switch gear, a long lead item, could upset our schedule for completion. Is that also correct?
That's correct.
If you'd like to elaborate on that a little bit, add a little more color to this, I think we need to really feel the impact of what's happening with access to equipment on order. It's not always your fault, the contractor's fault. It's other things that we have no control over. Please, I think I took a little more time to underscore that, but if you care to, in your own words, just add to that, because this is a problem, and it's just not electrical switchgear, it's other items too. Go ahead, Jack.
It does extend to other items. Essentially, in the construction industry, we don't think too much about computer chips, but a lot of the modern equipment contains some level of logic board, in there, whether it's HVAC equipment, even some of the types of breakers we need to use these days have a electronic component to what otherwise looks at just as an electrical item. And these items were ordered timely, and the delivery date that was provided at the time of ordering has been amended once, if not twice. Toya, can you clarify that? Is this the second extension we've received?
Yes.
And what is the presumed current delivery date on the gear?
I believe it is October. Matt, if I'm not correct, let me know.
Yeah, right now we're targeting November 1st. They're telling us October, but delivery dates right now are not reliable at all. So we've just got November 1st penciled in.
So, and this is from the date of ordering to that presumed November 1st date would be how long a lead procurement period?
71 weeks.
And this is gear that, you know, in the good old days of 2 years ago, we would probably see arriving on our doorstep 12 weeks after the shop drawings were approved. So, yeah, as you can see, it's quite a wild card, and the craziness extends to other areas such as mechanical equipment, even some lighting fixtures are having difficulties. But we're all doing what we can to mitigate and find workarounds, and even, you know, as we noted previous meetings, even to rebuild the old gear that was in Burns in order to make it last another 20 years was impractical, since the supply of spare parts for old gear has dried up due to this, you know, this same crunch. So we're thankful that we've at least got roofing materials in storage, and as soon as we get the weather, you know, we'll actually be able to put a roof on the building. But you know, some of the internals are still to be determined.
Thank you, Jack, and thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing us to dwell on that a little bit more for our listening audience.
Important, Al. Thank you for bringing it up. And it's important for us to realize that for the next three, right? As we have Colliers on the line here, what we can do and what we can have the CMs that we're about to bring on board think outside the box to stay ahead of it if we can. Thank you. Jack?
Next slide. With our look aheads, again, the primary activity at Buckley, in addition to phase 6 moving forward, is to complete our bidding effort, which again is anticipated later this week, and then crunching our reauthorization request dollar value at Burns. We're continuing on with Area 1, the data closet, and electrical service. February final inspections with a move-in date of the 20th through 24th. And then in March, beginning our disruptions of Area 2, cut, cap, and make safe, and then rearrange our logistics for Area 2, and then begin our demolition effort. So again, we're thankful that we're able to maintain progress at Burns at this point, and keeping our fingers crossed with the supply chain.
Thank you, Jack.
Kelly, is there one more slide, or is that our conclusion? Off to Colliers. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jack. Appreciate you. All right, everyone. Item number 6 on the agenda today is current projects under design, Colliers project leaders. And we will get in the action item agenda that we motioned on in the beginning of the meeting. Ray, Scott, walk us through.
Okay, our next step was to hire a construction manager. We started that endeavor back in October. We took original qualifications in November 14th with 5 firms responding. We rated those down. We ended up putting out a short list of 4 firms. Those 4 firms were Downs, Demio, Newfield Construction, and PDS. On December 13th, we had a walkthrough on the site so that everybody was on the same page when they put the proposals together. We received the proposals on December 22nd, and we interviewed these 4 firms on Friday, January the 13th. The results from those interviews were Downs was #1 selection, Newfield was #2, Demio was #3, and PDS was #4. As we looked at the fees were broken down by school and by contractor. As a result, Downs's fee ended up being $4,025,795. These fees include all the pre-construction costs, general conditions, insurance bonds, and their fees. So Downs, again, Betances was a 4,025,795. Kennelly was 4,120,707, and Wish was 2,900,273. Newfield came in at Betances at 4,600,796. Kennelly at 4,128,278. Wish was 3,008,745. Demio only put a proposal together for Wish, and that was 4,358,440. PDS only put a proposal in for Wish also. Their number was 4,420,850. This, as a result, the selection committee reviewed all the proposals, the interview comments, and made a decision. They decided to put before this committee the following selections. Betances, they were recommending putting Downs out there with a $4,025,796 fee. Kennelly, they wanted to go again with Downs construction at 4,128,707. And they elected to give Wish to the Newfield construction at the 3,008,745. So as the recommendation from the committee was such to recommend the awarded construction management contract to those firms. And that's what I'm putting in front of the committee at this time.
Thank you, Ray. Appreciate the breakdown. Is there a motion to award these construction managers as presented by Collier's project leaders?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make the motion that we award the construction managers as presented by Colliers.
Thank you, Councilman Clark. Is there a second?
I second.
Al Gary, thank you. Discussion?
Before you vote, Mr. Chairman, may I make a comment?
Of course, Al.
Thank you, sir. To all listeners, this review and evaluation process was not just done haphazardly. I don't know quite how to say the sausage was made, but it was well reviewed and scrutinized and discussed thoroughly amongst all of us in making this decision. Councilman Clark, you may want to add to that if you choose.
Chair, if I may. Yes, just to add a little more layer to that. It was these things are never taken lightly, and as Gary said, that we do review these RFP proposals under high level scrutiny, and there is a lot of work and review that is put into it. Kudos to Collier's staff that provided all of the documents for us to review, and I appreciate all of the 4 firms that came to provide their presentations to the selection review committee. These are things that we do not take lightly, and then our bottom line is making sure that the best presenters and with the best budget are looked at, and we are doing this for the best interest of our students in our city, and also for Hartford Public Schools.
I couldn't say it that well.
Al, you did great. Any further discussion? Please.
Yeah, if my Clarence. So, how is price considered in the proposals? With their kind of a dominant factor?
It's the last factor we look at in the RFQ process. We start with the qualifications. We narrow it down to get to the short list by doing a grading process. At that point, the selection committee gathers. We decide who's going to be shortlisted. At that point, they elected for the 4 that you saw in front of us. Just to give you an idea, the ratings, Downs Construction was number one during the RFQ process, during the RFP process, and during the interviews. Newfield was second during the RFQ as well as during the interviews and during the dollars. Demio is number three for the RFQ, number three for the interviews, and number three in the dollars, but they were only submitting for Wish.
Yeah.
And PDS followed up in the end.
Ray, if I can just add on to that. So the fees weren't even presented to the selection committee until after the interviews.
Correct.
So that was
Correct.
being
It
seen
does.
by the committee.
Right. Fees do become the issue at the end. You always have to pay attention to your dollars.
And sorry, through the chair. And how many of the workforce or teams are part of Hartford teams, or there are people in Hartford participating in Downs and Newfield's group?
They both had heavy participations by a partnership that they had for each one of these schools, for each one of these. Newfield was looking at MCM acoustics, and Downs was heavy into Kurt's company, Seven Summit.
Nutmeg.
And Nutmeg, I'm sorry.
It's okay. So yeah, both of these firms, Clarence, were pretty impressive when it came to community engagement and reaching out and letting the community know that the opportunity is coming, and how can they foster our community to get them involved. It was one of the best parts of both interviews for both Newfield and Downs. I was listening to what they are going to do to capture the community's attention and have them be involved in the projects.
If I may also add to that, both these companies came in with relationships that were ongoing before. They just didn't set up these relationships to get our attention or favor our vote for this particular project. They came in already doing things outside of this. So that was also impressive.
Again, I congratulate this team for doing a evaluation of the people that are going to be servicing the city of Hartford for a while. So congratulations on that process.
Thank you, Clarence. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. All right, everyone. Item number 6A on the agenda is project reports from Colliers. Ray?
Yep, we're good. Next slide. Project summary chart. Nothing's changed as far as schedule or completion dates. Next slide. Patan says, we're heavily into the existing condition surveys. We've had architects go into the building. They've been able to pop ceiling tiles. They've been able to run their machines to scan the building. So they're in the process of putting together some drawings for us to look at to show existing conditions and to help us with the more accurate design standards. The Has material consultant's been on site. He's done all the interior. He's done all the interior for Betances. He does need to get back on the roof, but he'll do that in the next week or so. Critical items, we're looking at construction manager, we just voted on. Commission agents, you'll be seeing in the February building committee. Next slide. Canelli, when it's pretty close to the same stage. We're about 2% in the design process. That just includes all your existing condition surveys. There again, they popped the tiles. They've been able to get above the ceilings. They've done all their scans, and they're putting pencil to paper as we speak. Has a material consultant. He's done most of the interior. He's still got some interior to do. He's also got to come back and do the ceiling, the roof, and he's on schedule to getting done on time and on budget. Critical items, interviews, construction management, we just elected, commissioned agents, same time frame. We're looking at the February school building committee meeting. Next slide.
Oh, Ray.
Rish, yes.
Excuse me, Ray, I just want to interrupt a moment. Before you go to the next slide, maybe just pause a moment and give us a chance to, well, just ask if we have any questions of you before we go. I don't have one, but just a
Sure.
little, it's harder to go back or to pause you if just give us a little moment there. Thank you.
Sure.
This is very good though. Thank you.
Our scheduled completion dates remain the same for both projects. Our budget remains the same for both projects. The pay to date is starting to climb, but it's still pretty low. We will go for an EDO 46 to get reimbursement and drawdowns when that number reaches about $200,000. Okay, Al?
Okay with me. I don't know with anybody else.
Ray, just ask any questions before you flip a slide. That's all.
Okay, any questions here? All right, next slide. Again, the budget's still the same. We paid to date about $40,000. Once we get to 200, we'll go for a drawdown. Schedule stays the same. Our design process, we're about 2% in with the existing conditions. Architects are putting pencil to paper. They're making things happen. Hazardous material consultant's been on the interior. He still has to come back to do the roof, but all the samples are out and we're waiting for results. Construction managers, we've just elected those. Commission agent, we're looking at February's school building committee to give us those answers or have that in front of you guys. Any questions? Next slide. Got nothing to report here until we get into construction. So we're about a year away from this slide actually changing. Next slide. This is the rest of January. We've got an RFQ going out for RFQ for the commission agent to do the end of January. At that point, we'll get the selection committee together within the next couple of days from that date. Next slide. So I'm looking to have the selection committee be able to put a short list for the commission agents on the 6th. We are going to the state to meet OSC GNR for Kennelly on the 7th, on Wish on the 8th, and Betances on the 9th. That's a pre-bid, that's a pre-project meeting that we have with the state to set up the expectations from the construction manager, the architects, the user, and the state. I'm looking to get the selection committee together on the 15th to interview the commission agents and make a recommendations for our Hartford School Building Committee on the 21st. Next slide.
Ray,
go ahead.
What's the, explain to everyone the commissioning agent's duties.
Commissioning agents make sure the building operates properly. On the mechanical side, it's making sure that you've got the right flows through the building, that your fans are going in the right direction, that the temperatures are being monitored properly, that all the systems work, all your dampers, all your VAVs function like they're expected to function. On the envelope side, they make sure that all the envelope, the exterior of the building is built per the design to make sure that we don't have any water infiltration as the years tick by on the building. So it makes sure that you have a viable building. It's another check to make sure that everybody's on board to do what needs to be done, and you have a building that's functional for the next 50 years.
So we just don't believe the engineers then.
No, we don't trust anybody. Also, part of the high performance standards, you need to have a commissioning agent at least to do the initial commissioning, and that's ultimately where we're ended up going here. So the initial commission agent is just the basic. It's not anything extension over and above high performance.
If I may opine on that just a bit further, initially the commissioning agent is going to meet with city staff, look at your standards, develop the owner's project requirements. and then review the specifications as those are being developed by the different design teams to make sure that all the requirements, all your basis of design requirements are being incorporated correctly in the design. So it's not just a matter of checking the installation to make sure that as the building is being constructed, it's being constructed accurately and all the systems tested properly so they will function as designed. But it's also working with the city initially, coming up with your owner's project requirements, and then making sure that those requirements are accurately reflected in the design documents when the project goes out to bid.
Excellent.
Ray, was there an invite put out for next Wednesday? Or not, next February, never mind.
It's in
Apologies.
February, right?
Ray, I think the other thing you may just want to comment on is just on the process of the programming with the architects. I know you did have a meeting, I believe, with JCJ last week, and you've got meetings with the other architects that you're working with Sherry. You want to just quickly update the committee on that process?
Well, part of the process we go through is a programming stage where each one of the architects sit down with the administration and comes up with what they really need in the building. Ed specs were pretty generic, so they need to narrow down square footages and how the system actually operates at this point. So we're in the process of getting everybody together, the different departments through the administration to nail down what the administration is actually expecting in these schools. And that goes on till into February, into March, because we do have, the next slide shows our SCDR meeting. The schematic packages are due in the end of March, so they need to have something together and something for everybody to look at. I skipped a little bit there. Programming stage is where you come up with the standards for the buildings, and that's what we're dealing with administration. Once we get the standards in place, the architects will take those standards and start putting together a schematic design. That design will include how spaces are laid out and how the building will start looking at. And towards the end of March is when we meet, is when we're expecting to have those schematic designs from the architect in our hands so we can take a look at it. And if you look in April, this is our biggest key date. Next slide, please. You see towards the end of April, you've got the 25th and 26th. We're going in front of the OSCGNR with these designs, with these schematic designs, to have them take a look at it and have their input. Any further questions? If you go to the next slide, it just gives you May.
If I may, Ray, how come,
Go ahead.
where's Connelly?
Connelly is actually into May.
In May, okay, thank you.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, Ray, before you, I'm sorry, I'm missing something. Is there going to be a presentation to us as to the schematics, or does that stay with you guys?
Schematics will be on board for everybody to take a look at in the end of March. So we'll actually have some sort of approval on the 17th of April before we go in front of the state.
Okay, so there will be a presentation of the design teams to this body?
Yes, I also need to get the advisory committees involved before that time frame. I just don't have a date for those yet.
Thank you.
So before we go to the state, I need your approval is ultimately what I'm going to be looking for.
Okay. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Welcome, Al.
Any other questions?
Anything else, Ray?
With that, that's my report.
All right. Thank you, Ray. All right, everyone. Item number 7 on the agenda, future projects and development. So at one point or another, as it is planned now, everyone, we're going to have 11 schools in progress in one way or another. Think about that for a moment. So Moylan, McDonough, and Parkville made it to the priority list. So these projects are going to start moving forward to solicit representation to guide the city through the processes of what we're going through now with Colliers and Arcadis. And on top of that, Batchelder, Sanchez, and Sands, working with the city's going to work with the Hartford Public Schools and the Board of Education on the educational specifications for those schools, as well as a proper facilities assessment. So when we do our application before the deadline next June, my goal is to have it done well before June, so we're not having a fire drill at the last moment. So that's happening as well. Any questions on future projects?
No, just a crazy comment. We're going to run out of workers to do all this work here. The labor force is getting very thin.
Hopefully Downs and Newfield can start fostering and building the labor force within. Okay. All right, hearing no questions, moving on to item number 8 on the agenda, everyone, is project closeout.
We have no projects currently in the closeout mode.
Thank you, Jack. Number 9 on the agenda, everyone, is other business. Any other business from the committee? Hearing none, we move on to item number 10 on the agenda, everyone, and that's adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Kim Oliver.
Kim Oliver, thank you. Second?
Second, Claudio.
Claudio, second. Thank you, Claudio. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Please don't. Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate your volunteerism for the good of the city of Hartford. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Thank you.